We recently, in I think the last episode, we did some and had some conversation around relationship. And when we're in these situations where we don't know what to do, again, we go back to what's happening in the world today. Lots of uncertainty, lots of wondering around the economic conditions, what's happening in a global macro, as well as what's happening nationally, locally, municipally. Where is your job? What is the business that you're in? What is the career path that you're on? Is it sustainable? Will it, in fact, live into the future? Now, when we consider that conversation we had around couples, it was really coming back to a little bit about communication, because it was based on, how do we face adversity as a couple? How do we communicate? How do we fight, if you will, and disagree? And how do we respect each other in that? But over the years, here's what I have really come to discover is that many couples aren't having these conversations. The husband or the wife may want to carry that load on their own as opposed to share the load, feeling like they're not being, I don't know, capable or competent in supporting the family the way they need to. Generally a male story, but not necessarily. So I wonder if in this is that, when we consider the power of now what, it's like sitting down as a couple, like you and I do, and say, now what? What are we going to do? How do we move forward? And I want to link that to something that you said earlier, which is our life is a reflection of the quality of the questions we ask. So the quality of our life is a reflection of the quality of the questions we ask ourselves. And what we both come to realize is the first questions we ask ourselves in any scenario are generally not deep enough, not the right questions. We actually have to go deeper. There's something I always say, or a question I always ask, and you always come back at me with this really curt response that pisses me off, and I'm trying to think of what it is. It's like I say something like, I don't know what to do, and you come back at me with, that's the wrong comment or the wrong question, or I just want to know what to do. If I make that random comment, do you remember what it is? Like, it really pisses me off when you say it, but it really boils down
I don't have
to,
the answer. You always say, I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. Well, you're asking the wrong question if you don't have the answers.
Mhm.
Having the answer isn't the answer.
Yeah.
Asking the right question and getting feedback, that's the answer. I think when you don't have the answer, don't have the answer, it's a stalling tactic. To your
Well, I
point
guess
about
universally, stalling aside, I guess universally it shuts everything down as well.
Yes.
When you think about that, and when you start to ask yourself different questions and really getting to the questions, and that's the other side of it. It's interesting that as coaches, that is really what we do. We often come into a conversation with, I have no answers for you. I just have questions because we believe that you have the answers, and we can guide and we can kind of facilitate the conversation. I'm not very good at doing that with myself necessarily on any given day. You do push my buttons around that stuff, but we ultimately get to it. And it really is about the power of the questions that we ask ourselves, and really asking hard questions that we may even have to research and investigate, and even have somebody support us in asking the right questions. Any further kind of thoughts on that?
Well, I think you get to an impasse with certain situations, and for you and I, I'm a brilliant coach, just so you know. I ask a lot of really great questions, but I'm not your coach. I'm your
Mhm.
wife. I'm your
Mhm.
friend. I'm your partner. And I've discovered over time is that you don't want my coaching. You don't want my input in that regard. And I think that's such a good lesson to bring forward, is that where are you stuck potentially? If you're listening to this and you're saying, okay, I really want to help my partner. I really want to help my family, my friends, my business partners, etc., but they're just not listening. They're just not listening. It could be because of the questions that you're asking, or it could be because the context of the relationship doesn't support that level of input. It doesn't matter what I do and how much I say. There's things that you'll say things 3, 4, 10 years later, like you just discovered. And I'm like, dude, I told you that 20 years ago, right? We could be in a totally different spot had you listened to me.
I'm a
But
tough
then there's
study.
no point of that. But it's
I'm a
true.
tough study. Yeah, yeah.